Hello, everyone. Today, we will learn about the bones of the free lower limb. The bones of the free lower limb include the femur, the tibia, the fibula, and the bones of the foot. The bones of the foot consist of the tarsal bones, the metatarsal bones, and the phalanges. The femur is the longest and strongest long bone in the human body. Its length is approximately 1/4 of the body's height. It consists of a shaft and two ends. The proximal end features a head that faces medially, superiorly, and anteriorly. It articulates with the acetabulum. Slightly inferior to the center of the head is a small depression called the fovea for the ligament of the head. Inferolateral to the head is the constricted neck of the femur. At the junction of the neck and the shaft, a large, quadratic prominence on the superolateral aspect is called the greater trochanter. A smaller prominence on the infromedial aspect is called the lesser trochanter. These serve as attachment sites for muscles. Anteriorly, the greater and lesser trochanters are connected by the intertrochanteric line. Posteriorly, they are connected by the intertrochanteric crest. The greater trochanter is an important palpable landmark. It can be palpated on the body surface. The shaft of the femur is slightly arched anteriorly. Its superior part is cylindrical in shape. The middle part is prismatic, triangular, in cross-section. The inferior part is flattened anteroposteriorly. The posterior surface of the shaft has a vertical bony ridge, called the linea aspera. The superior end of this ridge diverges. Its lateral division continues superiorly as the rough gluteal tuberosity. Its medial division continues as the pectineal line. The inferior end of the linea aspera also divides into medial and lateral lips. The bony area between these two lips is the popliteal surface. Near the midpoint of the linea aspera is a nutrient foramen, which opens downward. The distal end has two large, posteriorly projecting expansions, called the medial and lateral condyles. The anterior, inferior, and posterior aspects of the condyles are smooth articular surfaces. The anterior articular surfaces of the two condyles join together, forming the patellar surface, which articulates with the patella. A deep depression between the condyles posteriorly is called the intercondylar fossa. The most prominent points on the sides of the condyles are the medial epicondyle and lateral epicondyle, respectively. A small projection superior to the medial epicondyle is called the adductor tubercle. All of these are important landmarks that can be palpated. Fracture of the femoral neck. In the elderly, the inorganic content of bone is higher, and the organic content is lower. The bone structure of the femoral neck is relatively weak, making it prone to fracture. Therefore, elderly people should, during daily walking, take care to avoid slipping and causing a femoral neck fracture. The patella is the largest sesamoid bone in the human body. It is located anterior to the distal end of the femur. It is embedded within the quadriceps tendon. It is broad superiorly and pointed inferiorly, with a rough anterior surface. The posterior surface is an articular surface, which articulates with the patellar surface of the femur. The patella can be palpated. The tibia is located on the medial side of the leg. It is a large, long bone. Its proximal end is expanded. It projects medially and laterally, forming the medial and lateral condyles. The superior surfaces of the condyles have articular facets, which articulate with the femoral condyles. A rough, small elevation between the two superior articular surfaces is called the intercondylar eminence. Postero-inferior to the lateral condyle is a facet for the fibula, which articulates with the head of the fibula. An anterior on the proximal end is called the tibial tuberosity. The medial and lateral condyles and the tibial tuberosity are all palpable. The shaft of the tibia is prismatic in shape. It has a sharp anterior border and a smooth medial surface that lies directly subcutaneously. The lateral border provides attachment for the interosseous membrane of the leg and is called the interosseous border. The superior part of its posterior surface has an oblique line called the soleal line. Near the junction of the superior and middle thirds of the posterior surface, there is an upward opening nutrient foramen. The distal end of the tibia is slightly expanded. Inferomedially, there is a projection called the medial malleolus. The inferior surface of the distal end and the lateral surface of the medial malleolus are articular, articulating with the talus. The lateral aspect of the distal end has a fibular notch for articulation with the fibula. The medial malleolus is palpable. The fibula is located posterolaterally to the tibia. It is a slender long bone. Its proximal end is slightly enlarged, forming the head of the fibula. The head has an articular facet for the tibia. Inferior to the head, it constricts, forming the neck of the fibula. The medial border of the shaft is sharp, forming the interosseous border, where the interosseous membrane of the leg attaches. Near the midpoint of the medial side, there is an upward opening nutrient foramen. The distal end is expanded, forming the lateral malleolus. Its medial side has a malleolar fossa. It articulates with the talus. Both the fibular head and the lateral malleolus are palpable. The bones of the foot include the tarsals, metatarsals, and phalanges. There are 7 tarsal bones, which are short bones arranged in 3 rows, anterior, middle, and posterior. The posterior row consists of the talus superiorly and the calcaneus inferiorly. The middle row is the navicular bone, located anterior to the talus. The anterior row consists of the medial cuneiform, intermediate cuneiform, lateral cuneiform, and the cuboid bone anterior to the calcaneus. The tarsal bones account for nearly half the length of the foot, an adaptation for support and weight-bearing. The superior surface of the talus has an articular surface that is wider anteriorly and narrower posteriorly. Called the trochlea of the talus, it articulates with the medial malleolus, lateral malleolus, and the inferior articular surface of the tibia. Inferiorly, the talus articulates with the calcaneus. The posterior end of the calcaneus projects posteriorly, forming the calcaneal tuberosity. Anteriorly, the talus articulates with the navicular bone. The prominence on the front of the upper end is called the tibial tuberosity, an important palpable landmark. Anteriorly, the navicular bone articulates with the 3 cuneiform bones. The cuboid bone, located laterally, articulates with the calcaneus. There are 5 metatarsal bones. They are numbered from medial to lateral as the 1st to 5th metatarsals. Their shape and arrangement are generally similar to the metacarpals, but they are larger and stronger. The proximal end of each metatarsal is the base, which articulates with the tarsal bones. The middle part is the body, shaft. The distal end is the head, which articulates with the proximal phalanges. The base of the 5th metatarsal projects posteriorly, forming the tuberosity of the 5th metatarsal bone, which is palpable. There are 14 phalanges. The great toe, halo, has 2 phalanges, and the other toes have 3 phalanges each. Their morphology and naming are the same as the phalanges of the fingers. The phalanges of the great toe are stout, while the others are smaller. The distal phalanx of the 5th toe is very small, and often fuses with the middle phalanx. Everyone, today we have learned about the bones of the lower limb. Next, we will proceed to study the joints. Thank you.